When you sign up for a social media and then it asks you, hey, do you want to agree to the terms of service? The reality is that's exactly how life works. But nobody ever asks us to sign the agreement. Most of the bad things that happened to me, most of them happened to me and it wasn't my fault. Right. And I think a lot of the times, like, we confuse responsibility or like this whole victimhood stuff with somebody's fault. Oh, it's his fault or it's her fault for this happening. I don't really believe in that conversation. I don't really think that fault matters. I don't really think it's an important detail. What it is about your responsibility. Right. And so for me, it's like, it's not my fault that I face racism. It's not my fault that I experience different health issues. It's not my fault that these things happen to me. But the reality is whether I like it or not, I am responsible for whatever that event created in me and for who I am right now. And I just started to realize, like, I'm actually responsible for who I am, for all the bad things that have happened to me, but then also all the good things that have happened to me in my life. And really what I just started to understand is, like, once you start to take responsibility and you just start to say, like, you know what, I'm no longer like this passenger in the back of a bus by my society, by my school system, by my parents, by my culture. I'm actually going to take responsibility for who I am. And I'm going to, take ownership of who I am, right? And like, I talk about this and I'm like, how can you control something that you don't own? You can't control something that you don't own. And a lot of us are walking around here like we don't actually own ourselves. We walk around here like we're, and it seems weird, but we can kind of do that if we don't take responsibility. And a great like euphemism for this is responsibility, response able. You're able to respond in life. It's also about taking responsibility for who you are in life and addressing the bad things about life. And what I mean by that is, like, you sign up for a social media account, or if you sign up for a game, right? And you fill out your information, Mark, Metry, and then it asks you, hey, do you want to agree to the terms of service? Do you want to check the terms? Do you agree, right? To like the legal aspect. And the reality is that's exactly how life works. But nobody ever asks us to sign the agreement. And this is the agreement of life. You're gonna die. That's the agreement. Like, you're born and you're gonna die. So many of us have never even thought about our death, right? And the reality is if you've never thought about your death, you've probably also never thought about the extremely limited time that you have, right? And Steve Jobs has this quote and it says, life's best invention is death. Because when you realize that one day you're going to die, you're like, oh, I have nothing to lose. And so that's one aspect of it. But then also, like, there's terms of life when it comes to, like, hey, there's cause and effect. If you have good morals, good ethics, and you try to do something right, then life is probably gonna send you something right. It's not guaranteed. But then also, if you do something bad, you're probably gonna get something bad in return, right? And so there's like these very basic principles of life, right? Like, you have to take care of your body. And so if you don't agree with those, and the way that you agree to those terms is by taking responsibility, you will probably never be able to control your life. Now, however, now that I said what I said, there's also a flip side to this. And there's also people who actually take too much responsibility. They actually spend all their time and they're like, you know what? When my parents divorced, it was actually my fault. I'm actually responsible for that. And so I actually see this more often in girls, generally speaking, than men. And so that's an interesting observation. But yeah, there's a people in a minority who they actually take too much responsibility. And what I would say to them is you need to, again, get clear on what does fault mean versus responsibility, your fault, victimhood versus responsibility, which actually has nothing to do with being a victim, because it's saying, like, it doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. You have to own your stuff. And the issue is like, if you go your entire life and you don't own up to your mistakes and you don't own up to like cause and effect, then you never learn and you never become self-aware about who you actually are.